Picture this. You've just picked up the latest issue of Archie Comics' Sonic the Hedgehog. Issue 149 brings the 4-part exposition slogfest of a story, The Good, the Bad, and the Unknown, to a close. After paging through arguably one of the worst Sonic stories of all time, you take a look at the Sonicgrams. Something catches your eye. A new miniseries coming later that year based off the TV series Sonic X. The popular anime series from 2003 will get an adaptation only a mere 2 years later by Archie Comics. What was originally planned to be a 4-issue miniseries blossomed into 40 issues that mixed elements of the TV series with its own original ideas from writers new and old. With a newly established world for Archie to work with, does the Archie Sonic X spin-off comic live up to being a proper continuation of the series, or does it crash and burn from harboring the issues from the anime? Only one way to find out, ladies and gentlemen, as we'll be doing a complete dive into the forgotten spin-off comic of Archie Sonic's lineup, Sonic X. "2005 introduces the first 4 issues of the series. Originally conceived as the 4-part miniseries, this would be our first taste of what Archie Sonic X has to offer. Savings and Groans begins with Sonic and Sam Speed in the middle of another race. In the meanwhile, Dr. Eggman is thinking of a way to stop the heroes when he comes across money. Yeah, apparently green slips of paper don't exist in Sonic's world, so Eggman essentially tries to get his money up. Boko and Deco try robbing a bank, but that doesn't work out for them. So Eggman arrives moments later with a giant rat bot to take all the cash. Sonic, Tails, and Amy rush to the rescue, and with the power of the ring, Sonic saves the day. The issue ends with President Joe Biden recruiting Sonic & Co. with a special mission, and Eggman leaving with something much more valuable than cash. Issue 2 switches up the location with the gang looking for a mysterious ghost ship that may have some Chaos Emeralds in it. As Sonic, Topaz, and Rouge search for the sunken ship, Eggman uses the ring from the last issue as a battery to power his Dragon Bots, and deploys them underwater. Sonic, Rouge, and Topaz battle a bunch of sharks. Knuckles steps in to save the day, and Topaz says this line out of nowhere. Sonic uses the rings from the battery, and with the combined efforts of Topaz, Knuckles, and Rouge, the day is saved, but there are no emeralds in sight. The 3rd issue opens with Sonic not having the best time at the beach, avoiding traps and robots alike. Little does he know that this is all a distraction, as Bokoon delivers random presents to various characters across Station Square. Even Chris gets roped into this, as he's going on a field trip. Sonic, Amy, and Tails tag along, and are soon ambushed by Eggman's robots. Things just keep getting worse as the traps from earlier traps everyone into robots, even Chris, and Sonic's heading right for him. Chris can't control himself and attacks the trio. More captives arrive, and it looks like the heroes have met their match. Even with a new strategy at hand, they're clearly outmatched, but Chris breaks free from the control just in time, as Cheese and the X-Tornado come to save the day. Sonic destroys the controller piloting everyone, and the story comes to a satisfying close. Our 4-part adventure here was written by newcomer Joe Edkin of Marvel and DC fame, and to be completely honest, it was lukewarm at best. The overuse of the rings as the one and true problem solver was pretty repetitive, but I did like the switch up on the last part where the ring energy ran out. However, to make things worse, the art is just absolutely abysmal. Tim Smith 3? Why the hell is his last name 3? Tim Smith III illustrates all 4 parts. While he isn't new to the Sonic comics, previously illustrating the backup story in issue 148, his art is too off-model, like a schizophrenic Dave Manic drew all of this. And don't even get me started on some of the design choices and facial expressions. We are not starting strong with this first batch of stories. Let's see what next year has in store for Sonic X. "2006. The year Sonic died and the comic thrived, with Penders going out with a bang during his final days in the comic, and Sonic X slowly raising the bar with a two-part adventure. In I Never Promised You a Chow Garden, we're greeted with Sonic saving an owl during a forest fire. But poor Cheese is looking kinda sad. Cream explains that Cheese had a lot of friends over on Sonic's world, but after the Chaos incident, he was offered a chance to essentially die and go to heaven with everyone else. But he's not ready to, die, and chooses to hang out with Cream instead. Chris also relates to the loneliness of Cheese, as his parents rarely have the time to hang out with him. Meanwhile, Eggman showcases his latest plan of turning Chow into Dark Chow, with a certain radio frequency. Through a little bit of advertising, almost everyone has a Chow. Eggman initiates his plan, and Station Square goes into complete chaos. After a pretty good opening exploring the themes of loneliness, Tikal shows up to warn Knuckles, and she's got the whole squad to help her out. Back in Station Square, Sonic and the gang power up and stop the troublesome Chow. Things are getting a little bit crazy as she starts to hear the weird frequency, and Eggman decides it's time to pull up in the Eggnator battlesuit. The Chow start to gain an upper hand, but Knuckles, Tikal, and Chaos, with their own army of Chow, come to the rescue. Chaos even turns into a giant and knocks the hell out of Eggman's Eggnator. With the power of reversing the radio frequency, the Chow go back to normal. The heroes go home and enjoy a feast from the Thorndikes. And thus ends I Never Promised You a Chow Garden. An absolutely fun way to start the new year for Sonic X. I really enjoyed the theme of loneliness, and provided some intense action with Station Square and a ton of Chow. It's also pretty interesting to see how Edkin handled Tikal, as this pseudo-time traveler who's warned of danger through help of the Master Emerald. Hopefully we'll get to see more of her later on. The story is also aided by the art, as newcomer Tracy Yardley debuts with some incredible illustrations. It's strange seeing this much more rounded look of his earlier works, as I'm much more accustomed to his blockier look that he'd soon evolve to later down the line. But for his first time on the Sonic franchise, it's wonderful, capturing the speed and cartoonish aspect of Sonic perfectly. Not bad, Sonic X. Easily my favorite issue so far. Edkin continues with a 3-part adventure. This time, after some workers find some ancient technology in the sewers, Rouge and Topaz are assigned to go investigate. But Captain Westwood seems to be a bit frustrated that he isn't going on the mission, but he comes up with the bright idea of convincing none other than Sonic to help him on his own separate mission. That's a plan that can't go wrong, right? Sonic gets drafted during Chris's birthday and finds an alien weapon, and Rouge and Topaz get stalked by Emerald? Yeah, he's just here and watching Rouge and Topaz in the shadows. Sonic and Captain Westwood take out the giant weapon, and the gang all get tickets to Paris. The Thorndikes unveil a new space shuttle. Eggman uses his disguised robots to distract everyone so he can steal the spaceship. Big pulls up and punches Eggman in the nose, and ends up in a house of mirrors. Emerald notices Eggman calling him Master, and is ready to take aim at Sonic the Hedgehog. The story comes to an end with Sonic and Emerald getting jumped by a giant spider bot. As everyone escapes, Sonic and Emerald take it out, with Emerald copying Sonic's techniques. Eggman makes his getaway using the space shuttle, but little does he know, he's got a stowaway on board. Issues 7 through 9 ultimately felt like a slight drop in quality compared to the Chow 2-parter. The focus on Emerald was entirely superficial, as he did nothing but lurk in the shadows and leave a lot more questions than answers. It's weird that Edkin has such a strange focus on Emerald during the story, as this is anything but a Sonic battle adaptation. While it did have a strong start, it fails to stick the landing. If you noticed in issue 7, we got another new face to add to the roster, David Hutchinson, who illustrates issue 7. While a little bit off on a few panels, Hutchinson proves to be a pretty solid artist on the book. Can't wait to see what he illustrates next on the book. Not sure if you noticed, but that little advert at the bottom of the final page? That's right, everyone. It's time for the 15th anniversary celebration issue. No thanks for the memories gives us a bit of change in the status quo, as Vanilla and the Chaotix are now stuck back on Earth with the rest of the gang. Oh, never mind. Back at Gun, Westwood and Topaz have a bit of beef between each other, and Rouge is missing. And so have the other characters, as they're now all stuck in Sonic 1. It's at this point where we get some interesting lore surrounding Dr. Eggman, as he's been looking over his grandfather's notes, bringing in more mysteries for the Doc to discover, such as Emerald being built by his granddad, and the mystery of why Eggman was sent away from Earth in the first place. It's also implied that Gerald inspired Eggman to make Sonic 1 as a trap for the heroes, which I find kinda funny. I definitely saw his name on the credits when I beat the game, for sure. Sonic finds Amy trapped in Marble Zone, where they battle the second boss and make their way to Spring Yard Zone. Chris and Chuck investigate the disappearance of Sonic and friends and find the Master Emerald missing from Angel Island, prompting them to go search for them. Sonic and Amy find Knuckles. Knuckles blames Sonic for their troubles recently, as if it wasn't for the Chaos Control incident from episode 1 of the series, none of this would have ever happened. But Amy says that it really is Dr. Eggman's fault for attempting to take over the world. Also, they find Rouge trapped in a capsule. While Eggman tries to kill Sonic through using the Master Emerald for his epic gaming setup, Sonic saves Cream, Cheese, and Vanilla with the help of a power-up, and it's time for the final boss. Chris and Grandpa Chuck arrive just in time to rescue everyone and take back the Master Emerald, right before Eggman sends them all up to space. Issues 10 and 11 were a delightful little celebration of Sonic's history. This did give us a bit of insight in the mystery of Dr. Eggman, with the aforementioned Gizoid and game sprite based around his own granddad. The premise felt a lot like the Genesis event, which wouldn't happen until a couple more years later in 2011, which was also done as an anniversary celebration. I'd still take Genesis over this any day, as there's much more substance going on under the hood, rather than the simple A to B adventure. While not the best story, it's an enjoyable read. 12 to 14 gives us another 3-part adventure with everyone's favorite side character, Captain Westwood. Sonic's bored out of his mind and wants some action to happen ASAP. Tails gets drafted and he and Westwood attempt to figure out how to pilot the alien tech from issue 7. But after a quick startup, it seems to be a bit more than they could actually handle. Sonic and the Speed Police, with the help of their combined efforts, take the machine down. Tails and Westwood are sent for questioning, and Chris's mom comes up with a proposition to let Cream and Vanilla stay at one of their brand new Sonic Frontiers islands. After some interrogation from the FBI, Sonic and Tails come to the conclusion that Westwood is flat out lying to the cops. So for now, Sonic and Tails are being kept in prison with Dr. Eggman. Back on Epstein Island, it's a ghost town up there. Literally, ghosts show up out of nowhere to terrorize Cream and Chris, and even possess their mothers. They fend for themselves until Chris gets a phone call from Chuck that Sonic and Tails have been arrested. But that news won't deter Chris and Cream. They have to find a stone hourglass, as seen from the TV show, and use it to scare away the ghosts inside. But outside those walls is a satanic ritual going on. The main ghost, King Boom Boo, tells them that they need to bring back the talisman, and he'll let everyone go. Sonic and Tails show up and put the talisman back in place, with everyone saved to live another day. The story arc is very strange to say the least. The first part building off the events of earlier was good, right? But then the ghost subplot shows up out of nowhere and gets concluded way too easily. Overall, it had a strong start, but it really fumbled at the end. One more story to take a look at for this year, the Christmas issue. Sonic is a certified Santa denier, and Eggman decides to become the real Santa Claus. What wacky hijinks will unfold next? Sonic decides to pull up on Santa, but surprise! He isn't at the North Pole. Once he returns to Station Square, Eggman hijacks the local festivities to inform everyone that there will be no presents until he gets Sonic. So it's the world versus Sonic, but Chris convinces him to give himself up for Eggman because bro thinks Santa is real. Sonic decides to give himself up to Santa and heads to the North Pole, where he exposes Eggman's plan. The day is saved and they get their presents. The end. Kinda crazy that all Eggman had to do was just put on a quick costume to convince the masses that he needed Sonic. But outside of that, issue 15 leaves me wanting more from this adventure. It has its moments, but it's just in the middle. We have another newcomer to the series in the art department with this final issue. Todd Wanish, who does some pretty alright artwork, though it's really distracting with some of these panels just being blatant redraws from stills of the TV show. Like, come on, man. Really? Despite these 4 numbers having a negative connotation to the series, for Archie Sonic X, this year was a mix of ups and downs. Starting off strong and giving us middle-of-the-road multi-part stories, Edkin still, however, proves to be a pretty decent writer for the series, and the art has seen a significant step up with 3 new faces added to the team. Let's see if the quality continues to go up with the next year. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone! Love is in the air, and Sonic's biggest meat writer, Amy, finally gets to go on a date with him. Sonic, however, has no sort of dating experience, so he goes to the Chaotix for some help. After making a list of places to go, Sonic heads off to take Amy on her date. But Eggman's gonna sabotage it because he's just a hater. Eggman and Bokoon try blowing up Sonic and Amy, but accidentally create fireworks instead. Frying them to death? Nope. A house of mirrors and a roller coaster ride? Not a problem. This was an okay issue, with most of its comedy relying on Eggman's plans failing left and right. This issue is also pretty significant, as this is Ian Flynn's first story written for the series. And it's functional. Nothing really interesting to say other than that. Time for another holiday-centric story. The one where we celebrate Irish green midgets. Ian Flynn's back at it again, with the cast celebrating St. Patrick's Day, which even has Eggman confused. But after learning about the fabled pot of gold, he sees another chance at getting that money. Mistaking a green-painted Bokoon as a leprechaun, Station Square is under attack as Eggman continues the hunt for the gold. So it's time for everyone to save the day once again. Chris tricks Eggman by mentioning the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And to be honest, this issue is just more of the same of issue 16, just holiday shenanigans with the crew. But I do have to give this one just one more point for Eggman still hustling to get that cash. But Ian, enough with the holiday issues. 17 also brings longtime artist Stephen Butler, the GOAT, to the fray, and he definitely shows that he's adjusting to the Sonic X art style. Still great nonetheless. Edkin comes back at us again with Rouge Goes Rogue. I swear that title sounds familiar. Rouge is caught stealing a moon emerald, but Sonic thinks it may be another case of mistaken identity, just like Shadow. At Angel Island, Rouge shows up again to steal the Master Emerald from Knuckles, prompting him to break into Gun HQ to find answers. With the help of Topaz and Westwood, everyone discovers that the other Rouge was a robot created by Dr. Eggman. Eggman pulls up to the museum to steal another gem, so chaos ensues and the gems are saved. Overall, a pretty fun adventure with a bit of mystery surrounding the fake Rouge. Great looking story too. We're shifting to the wonderful world of Las Vegas. I love gambling, and so does Eggman. He's back on the grind, finding a new way to get some cash by doing a little trolling to the Las Vegas locals. Meanwhile, the gang enjoy a nice time at an arcade. The Hedgehog isn't feeling it as he wants to enjoy a leisurely run instead, but the moment he leaves, Eggman steps into the picture to cause havoc in Nevada. Tails and Amy try to take down the latest robot, but to no avail. Sonic steps in, and with the 3 of them together, Eggman's defeated. Even with a new location in tow, issue 19 seems to be another case of more of the same. New giant robot comes to stop Sonic and friends, and he has to go stop said robot. It looks like Edkin's heart wasn't here for this one, so let's cross the halfway point of the series with issue 20. Speed Lines, written by James McDonough and Adam Patiak, stars the Speed Police's #1 driver, Sam Speed, who's having some trouble with his car recently, and acting a bit more aggressive than usual. Thankfully, a new local mechanic, Robbie Nick, is here to help our old friend Sam, giving his ride a major upgrade, and even beating Sonic in a race. But soon, it transforms into a giant robot. Knuckles steps in to save Sonic, and with the help of Grandpa Chuck, the robot car transformer is destroyed. This issue did shake up the formula, which I enjoyed. The whole premise of a transformer in Sonic X is a pretty cool touch. Overall, a bit above average for these newcomers, but this does feel like the average Sonic X issue so far. A new writer takes the lead for the next issue, Mike Bullock with Subsonic. Grandpa Chuck's old partner comes up with a theory of traveling different dimensions at a subatomic level. Pretty cool, right? Well, lower your expectations because this is Archie Sonic X, and any sort of creativity is limited down to Sonic and Tails getting chased by Eggman and his cronies through a toy store. Why? This idea of possible worlds by shrinking down to such a small size has a myriad of stories with just that premise, and we're left with a Toy Story-esque adventure. I don't even want to continue. This story sucks. Well, Edkin is finally back again with some sleek art from another veteran, James Fry, and Deco and Boko get the spotlight. After another failure at stopping Sonic and Westwood, the delinquent duo are fired and replaced with upgraded henchmen, leaving them looking for a job. Westwood is under attack again, and the new bots beat up Sonic. These bots are pretty good at their job. A bit too good as the new bots kick out Eggman, as he's the cause of his own failures. Bokun escapes and calls the bots back to save Eggman. With some help from Sonic, Eggman is saved and Sonic trashes the new bots. James Fry's art really helps the issue stand out from the norm, sticking with the style of Sonic X and combining it with his dynamic original art style to provide a unique look for the series. The story itself is a bit better and breaks the mold of collect ring to stop big robot, but it could be just a little bit better to be honest. Ian Flynn takes control of the book with hedgehogging their bets. We're introduced to Sonic's biggest haters. After getting caught in a gas chamber, each of the members of this new organization introduce themselves, explaining how Sonic ruined their lives. But he is not taking all that seriously, and just escapes with ease. Yeah, this was just another mediocre issue, as it's just another exposition dump that introduces us to a pretty cool idea in theory, but in execution is treated as nothing more than a joke. The art's nice, but over a third of the story is dedicated to just info drop on the reader. Sonic and the gang are on TV and get to show off their skills through a giant obstacle course. Chris notices that something's off with the whole thing, but it's time for the show to begin, with everyone showing off their skills. Eggman downloads the data from them into his new robot, creatively titled the X-Robot. Similar to Emerald, he copies the abilities and personalities of the heroes, which ultimately becomes his biggest flaw. By working together, the X-Robot is out of commission. While it is a simple action story, Yardley's dialogue and art work wonders together, providing us with a pretty interesting villain who strangely enough was going to share a lot more similarities with Emerald. I wonder if there was any chance of actually building off of the Emerald nonsense Eggman planted way before with the story. Easily this is the best issue so far. Way to go, Yardley! Ladies and gentlemen, we've made it to Sonic X's only milestone issue, and Ian Flynn provides us with an actual banger this time around. No exposition dumps and no holidays to tie this one down. The Sonic X Hate Club finally decides to pull their biggest attack yet, Sonic versus a bunch of recolors. Sonic arrives on the scene and it's a battle royale between Sonic and the Sonics. But Sonic soon realizes that it's going to be difficult to fight all of them while making sure Station Square is safe. So help arrives in the form of Tails, Amy, and Knuckles. Sonic comes up with the bright idea of bringing the Sonics to Eggman's base. Bro gets scared as hell and annihilates all the fake copies. Sonic finds out that Sonic X are the ones that are causing mayhem, and take a nice trip to their base to fight one more Sonic. They fight, and poor classic Sonic here gets shot down. Our story ends with Eggman donning some wrestling attire as he plans to start a wrestling career. Overall, issue 25 is a fun adventure that helps make the story feel a little bit more serialized with callbacks to previous events, and adds a bit more depth at making Sonic X a serious threat. It's tied with Yardley's story so far being the best of this year. Eggman's back with another way to get more paper. What better way than to go into pro wrestling? And Chris becomes his biggest fan for some reason. Sonic decides to challenge El Gordo to prove he's the ultimate fraud, leading to a rather hilarious training montage. But it's showtime. Despite being almost evenly matched, Sonic comes out victorious, but Eggman stays as El Gordo, and it looks like Bokun wants a little on the action. Boko pulls up on the Thorndyke house to ask Sonic to stop Bokun, who's gone on a sugar-filled rampage to challenge El Gordo. He arrives just in time, and Eggman decides it's time to switch back to being his regular evil self. Sonic and Eggman take out Bo-Kun, and that's the end of the story of the El Gordo two-parter, which was fine. These plots with Eggman just wanting money is showing to be pretty nonsensical in the grand scheme of things. It's a dumb reason to have stuff like this show up, and while I'm all in for original concepts for this book to stand out, this just didn't hit for me at all.
I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride.
2007 seems to be another repeat of the previous year, but a little better. The art is getting better and better, and Flynn and Yardley are proving to be pretty great writers in this era. We've got one more year ending off with an insane 3-part crossover. Buckle your seatbelts, everyone, because we're ending with 2008. Yardley brings us a 2-parter to the table for us to dive into. Eggman uses a power plant to power his latest robots. He's got something big going on, and Sonic and his friends won't let his plan succeed. Even though Eggman has the elemental advantage, Sonic isn't going out without a fight. Too bad they, lose. And with the power of the Master Emerald, the robots combine with Chaos to make the God of Destruction bend at Eggman's will. Eggman takes Chaos to Station Square to destroy it. Grandpa Chuck and Chris give the team a ride to the city, and with some convincing from Chaos, Sonic goes super. The two titans tussle, say that 5 times fast, but Sonic knows that he's outclassed by Chaos, as he matches him blow for blow. So Sonic grabs the remote controlling Chaos and destroys it. Chaos breaks free from Eggman's control, and just leaves. Yardley's 2-part adventure was a pretty solid story. Getting to see Super Sonic in action was also a pretty fun treat. The story alone was pretty basic at first, but soon the threat of Station Square being washed away really helped raise the stakes. Another certified Yardley Hood classic. Flynn is back at it again with Sonic and friends stuck in a carnival-themed trap. And, what? We just jump in with Sonic and friends in the middle of the trap. Sonic on the tightrope, Knuckles fighting clowns, Tails and Cream stuck with a robot bear, and Amy fighting elephants. It's just a big dumb issue where things happen for literally no reason. There's no sort of build up whatsoever to get to this part of the story. Flynn does the thing with Bo-Kun, his obsession over sugar, like it's some sort of drug he can't control himself over, and hilarity with large air quotes happens on the page. I don't find the whole Bo-Kun is a crack addict joke funny. This story should have stayed in the drafts. We've got like 10 more issues, so let's see how things turn out. El Gordo is back again with Bo-Kun running around as Eggman and doing such deadly acts like stealing cake and candy. Bo-Kun escapes and Eggman gets the win, but he soon shows up to the Thorndikes in need for Sonic. Bo-Kun went a little over his head with the Eggman shtick and needs Sonic to take him out. After putting on the ugliest looking fit of all time, they make it inside Eggman's tower, beat a couple bots up, and fight Bo-Kun, piloting the Red Eye boss from Sonic and Knuckles. Bo-Kun is defeated, and Eggman retires the El Gordo persona. A little bit better than the first 2 Gordo stories. We've got some decent action and a plot not centered around taking over Station Square or money. It looks like Sonic X is slowly rising itself out of the mediocrity pool it once harbored. 33 gives us a new MacGuffin for the heroes to grab, and look! Edkin's finally back to write for the series. And yeah, I'm not feeling this one too much. After a meteor lands at the South Pole, it becomes a competition to see who can grab it first and bring it back to Grandpa Chuck. The entire issue is devoted to this brain-dead plot of a race. They get a Chaos Emerald from the meteor, and that's it. Moving on! It's a pool party, a full party, if you will, with Sonic and the gang, as Eggman joins the Thorndike's charity pool party as a way to nab Grandpa Chuck's new engine contraption. While Sonic is chilling out on the pool, Eggman gets distracted by the Thorndike's maid, Ella, and Tails tries to help Boko and Deco with their swimming problem. Then, Eggman dives into the pool and floods the whole place. He gets kicked out for literally causing a tsunami at the Thorndike backyard, and that's it. Yeah, I don't know what Flynn was doing with this one. It's just a really dumb story where events just happen, I think. Eggman's whole plan from the start is nonsensical, and a lot of the stuff is played for laughs, which I didn't really find funny at all. Alright guys, 5 more issues left. Cracking the Eggman stars the guy in the title, Eggman. After the Chaotix are on the lookout for mysterious robbers, Sonic comes in contact with Eggman, who's going through multiple personalities because of a sugar rush. So, how do you defeat a sugar-crazed doctor? Just let him go crazy on the costumes. Okay, but why does he have a costume of Chris? But that's literally the whole issue. Just the one joke of Eggman playing dress up because of a sugar rush. This is the biggest time waster of a story I ever read. Flynn's shown he can write some good stories for this series, so what's up with the obvious sign of poor quality with these recent stories? Edkin's back, and the topic of discussion for today is pets. After dealing with some jerk named Millen, Eggman steals a limousine for parts and believes that a Chaos Emerald is at a nearby pet show. So, he's not gonna steal it, but he's actually going to win it fair and square? Huh? Also, Sonic's entering too because Chris's friends want to get even with Millen. This leads to Archie Sonic X's most famous panel. Cream and Cheese join in on the fray, and despite the talent show becoming a complete mess, the food-named characters win the show and the Chaos Emerald, which they decide to donate to a museum. It's strange seeing Sonic X break further and further from the serialization that it initially hinted at for these low-stakes stories. While I'm not opposed to letting the comic goof on and have its moments, these moments in question are not well written, and they rely on one-note jokes or humor that I just don't find appealing. Eggman playing fair and square for us seeing Bokoon become a furry isn't interesting for me, and this looks like the direction for the remainder of the series, as Switcheroo is just a simple mind swap story. Sonic and Eggman get into a fight where their minds get swapped. While one enjoys the new life they have, the other wants his body back. After an altercation with President Joe Biden, they get their bodies back. Overall, it's a pretty average story, but it does have some funny moments from time to time. However, looks like we're picking things back up with our final 2 stories for Sonic X, starting off with Big Trouble in Little Station Square. The Sonic Haters Club is up to no good again, as Dr. Narasu has created a serum to turn Sonic into a monster. But let's just say they're having a bit of trouble trying to inject a speedy blue hedgehog. As Sonic goes over to the Chaotix house for some help stopping Sonic X, Dr. Narasu fires the last dart at Sonic, but it hits Vector instead, causing him to go on a rampage through Station Square. Sonic and Espio rush to the city to find a cure for Vector. In the meantime, Eggman notices the commotion going on and decides to save the city to win the citizens' approval, and probably get paid for doing it. This is in the form of Giant Bokoon, who tussles with the crocodile. Sonic and Espio head to the pharmacy for the ancient remedy, aspirin. Sonic feeds it to Vector just in time before Gun guns him down. While this was a little bit more bearable than the last couple of Flynn-centric stories, Big Trouble in Little Station Square is just dumb decisions leading to even more dumb decisions. Why let Charmy guard the 2 Sonic X members? Are the Chaotix that stupid? And this issue really solidifies Sonic X as an incompetent group that can't get anything done right, which is unfortunate. All that buildup of a secret organization out to get Sonic is completely wasted with how bad they do their job. The final issues of Sonic X goes out with a 3-issue story, crossing over with Sonic the Hedgehog issue 196, Sonic X issue 40, and the new series Sonic Universe with its debut issue. What makes the event kinda suck for us though, is that the Sonic X segment is easily the weakest of the bunch. As a way to celebrate the end of the comic, Sonic shows Shadow around Station Square, meeting various characters that we've talked about through this entire video. I can't really say anything much, since it really just feels like a long refresher for people reading the comic. Eggman meets up with Metal Sonic to take out Sonic, but Shadow jumps in and warps away. While Sonic X is officially over, Shadow's story isn't done yet, as a mere 2 months later, Archie would introduce a new series that would follow off Shadow's events from the Hedgehog Havoc crossover, and also aid in fleshing up and expanding the world of the Archie Sonic universe, titled Sonic Universe.
I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride.
And thus concludes the Archie Sonic X series. 40 issues that were ultimately some of the biggest hits and misses I've ever seen sandwiched between a wide load of mediocrity. Each writer contributed some incredible ideas in helping make Sonic X stand out from its animated counterpart of the same name. While they may not have all been fleshed out, it was still fun to see what they did within the restrictions set in the universe. Even as repetitive as they may be, it had its ups, it had its downs, and it certainly did have Chris Thorndike. But Sonic X is a mixed bag of a comic that really does deserve some recognition for being the Archie Sonic comic of all time. Thanks for watching the video, everyone. If you actually like hearing me talk about Archie Sonic, well, bad news for the people who actually stick around to hear what I say at the end of these things or even read my posts, but this is my last video essay centered around that topic. It's been a strange year slowly dipping my toes into this wonderful mess of a comic, getting a newfound appreciation for a side of Sonic that I unfairly judged because it was the popular thing to do. It's been a fun run, everyone, and hey, if you look in the right places on this site, you're bound to find some more Archie Sonic. Or better yet, read the comics, please. Seriously, I have a link to available sites you can read this series for in high quality. There you go, guys. Something you can now add to your summer to-do list. Anyways, if you're ever down to talk more Archie Sonic with me, looking in that same description has my Discord server and more. If you're scared of clicking a server link that'll give you the chance to watch new videos early like this one, then just check out the second channel, where I also upload art and post videos like this one earlier than the due date. Well, sayonara Archie Sonic, it was a good run, and see you all in the next Stryster video.